So I have a bone to pick with society. All right. There is the contemporary artist, which is very beautiful, very not modern. Sorry, not modern at all, but is very beautiful to look at. It's very simple, very natural, and then you have the modern artist, the emotionally explosive. I want to say exploit. They exploit their emotions with their strokes of their uh, pen, with their paintbrush, with their sculpting, and a lot of it can be considered crude. Now, I don't like the term modern artist because that encompasses a lot of different artists. Like there are some like Van Gogh, like his Night Sky, that is not considered contemporary. That's considered modern art. But the thing is with the modern artist is that, like I said, it's a blanket statement. Now, with Van Gogh, his Starry Night or Starry Night. Never mind, the person I'm looking to or doesn't even know I'm talking to them. Um, it is one of the most iconic pieces, much like um, Mona Lisa, but Mona Lisa is contemporary. Now, with the difference is that he had very slight paint strokes, and he painted with emotion. But it's famous. It's even called beautiful. I personally hate that it's overused in certain pieces or certain um, films and whatever. That's an entirely different rant for another day. Now, let's get more drunk to get more stupid with this statement. Anyways, with modern art, with me as a modern artist, I don't like that term because my art is not contemporary in the least bit. But it's not hideous like some of them out there. There are some people that do those, it's called dirty pours. It's um, mixing water, oil, and some acrylic paints, and you pour over the canvas, and whatever comes out, comes out. And I kind of like it because it's very natural. It's, but at the same time, it can be very distasteful because it's just a bunch of just splattered paint. That's not art, right? Well, it kind of is. It takes a lot of detail and a lot of um, experimentation to get the right effect that you're looking for. And in a way, that is more of a scientific art, but still, it is art all the same. And back to me, my artist is more surrealism because it has its contemporary, you know, point of view, but in the end, it's very abstract. It's very fanciful or not fantastic. What's the word I'm looking for? It is something you would imagine in a fantasy world. Nothing is real. So the thing is that I have the hardest time when someone calls my art modern. I image what Picasso decided to do because Picasso was an amazing artist, absolutely phenomenal. And then he went into these really obscure abstract paintings, like the two eyes over here, the lips over here, and squares and whatever. I don't know. It was really, I hate his secondary pieces, but they are what made him famous. If you go back and look, a lot of Picasso's earlier works were very contemporary. They did not bring the audience that he required and or audience that he wanted to have. But what it did, but then he decided to experiment and put out these really bizarre and, dare I say, awful pieces, and people ate them up until his death. And They exploded after that. And still to this day, people don't see a lot of Picasso's earlier works. And it's very disheartening as an artist to think, you know, maybe someday, 100 years after I'm dead, someone might look back and be like, that guy wasn't half bad. And that's one of the saddest parts of being an artist. Being in the art community is very difficult because there are some art communities that people don't communicate with each other. They're very about themselves and nobody else. And, that actually what pushed me away from being an artist earlier, 7 years ago, is because people were all about themselves when I went to catch them, and they weren't willing to express a gratitude towards other artists and trying to learn from other artists. This is the way I'm going to do it. This is the only way I'm going to do it, and you can't tell me otherwise. Well, that's kind of close-minded, to be honest, but that's how these people saw it. And I say these people, and people think hundreds, and let's reduce that to like 3%. Yeah, very small amount. So 3 people that I talked to up there were very all about themselves and not willing to promote another artist. This gallery that I went to, oh my god, it was awful. You may have heard, you may have not have heard of what's called outsider art. And at first, I'll be honest, I looked into outsider art at one point because my artwork was a little atrocious. It was bizarre, a little obscene, and just I look back on it and I'm like, what was I doing? I didn't even use drugs, and I made some weird shit out there. I don't use drugs today either. Maybe a little beer once in a while, but that's about it. So the thing is with these contemporary artists is that they're very posh, but there's not that many contemporary artists. You have very, very little of them out there these days, unless they are doing, let's say, photography. But I don't consider that contemporary art because you're not truly creating a piece. You are recapturing something that's already been made, if you want to think under those circumstances. And I find it very difficult to classify photography, to classify dance in those kinds of terms as contemporary or abstract, because dancing is completely abstract. There is no contemporary to it. Even waltzing, you're courting your mate, really. I mean, you're following a pattern. You're not doing anything different. It's boring, but it's still an abstract concept. Ask a robot to dance. You can't. They have to be programmed to do that. All right, it's a human thing, and not just humans. I mean, courting is not purely human. So let me go back on that. Dancing is not human purely, but to give it a definition is. To having to define something is. Where I don't feel art should be defined as contemporary or modern or abstract or surreal or anything like that. It's just art. You sculpt, you paint, you draw, you dance, you cook, you bake, you do all sorts of these things. You craft all sorts of ways. And yet, people want to classify it and categorize it for something that doesn't really matter. Beauty is beauty and ugly is ugly. That's all there is to it. beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Because what you find to be an amazing piece of art, I personally could find to be hideous. All right? If you ever looked at any of the art pieces from the band they used, some people find those horrific. Where I think it's kind of cool, to be honest. They were kind of an inspiration to me when I was younger for art, uh, and the development of a character of mine many, many, many moons ago. But I think I've talked your ear off enough about this subject, so y'all have a good day now. If you'd like to do me a favor, you could thumbs up this, you could subscribe, maybe even hit that little bell so you get notified whenever I have my beer and a rant or vape and a rant or any kind of ranting I'm doing. If you would like, this beer right here is a Hop Notion, and you can go check out the other video where I review this beer and tell you just how damn good it is. Alright, have a good day.